All right, here's the next one. It's If I Ran a Zoo. If I Ran the Zoo by Dr. Seuss. What a funny picture. Here we go. It's a pretty good zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, and the fellow who runs it seems proud of it, too. There's Gerald McGrew. Okay. But if I ran the zoo, said young Gerald McGrew, I'd make a few changes. That's just what I'd do. The lions and tigers and that kind of stuff they have up here now are not quite good enough. You see things like these in just any old zoo. They're awfully old-fashioned. I want something new. So there he is now that Gerald McGrew has become the man that runs the zoo. Okay, well, let's see what he would do. So I'd open each cage, I'd unlock every pen, let the animals go and start over again, and somehow or other I think I could find some beasts of a much more unusual kind. There he is. Do you see him? He's letting all the animals out. There they go. Ooh, that would be scary. Look at them all out running around. And there's Gerald behind there. Yep. I wonder what's going to happen. A four-footed lion's not much of a beast. The one in my zoo will have 10 feet at least. 5 legs on the left and 5 more on the right. Then people will stare and they'll say, "What a sight! This zookeeper, new keeper Gerald's quite keen. That's the gold darnest lion I have ever seen." There it is. My new zoo McGrew Zoo will make people talk. My new zoo McGrew Zoo will make people gawk at the strangest odd creatures that ever did walk. I'll get for my zoo a new sort of a hen who roosts in another hen's top knot, and then another one roosts in the top knot of his, and another in his, and another in his, and so forth and upward and onward. Gee whiz. Look at them roosting in each other's top knot. Okay. But that's just a start. I'll do better than that. They'll see me next day in my zookeeper's hat coming into my zoo with an elephant cat. They'll be so surprised, they'll all swallow their gum. They'll ask when they see my strange animals come, "Where do you suppose he gets things like that from? His animals all have such very odd faces. I'll bet he must hunt them in rather odd places." There's his elephant cat. "And that's what I'll do," said young Gerald McGrew. "If you want to catch beasts you don't see every day, you have to go places quite out of the way. You have to go places no others can get to. You have to get cold and you have to get wet too. Up past the North Pole where the frozen winds squeal, I'll go and I'll hunt in my Skiegelmobile and bring back a family of what do you know? And that's how my new zoo, McGrew Zoo, will grow." There he goes. "I'll hunt in the mountains of Zamba, ma tante, with helpers who all wear their eyes at a slant, and capture a fine fluffy bird called the bustard, who only eats custard with sauce made of mustard, and also a very fine beast called the flustered, who only eats mustard with sauce made of custard." It's probably just as fun to read the story as it is to listen to the story. Look at there. "I'll catch them in caves and I'll catch them in brooks. I'll catch them in crannies. I'll catch them in nooks that you don't read about in geography books. I'll catch them in countries that no one can spell, like the country of Mata Fa Pata Fa Pel. In a country like that, if a hunter is clever, he'll hunt up some beasts that you never saw ever." There he goes. He's on the boat. See him? There's Gerald McGrew, and he's going to this far country to go hunting for wild, exotic animals. "I'll load up 5 boats with a family of jotes whose feet are like cows but wear squirrel skin coats and sit down like dogs but have voices like goats, excepting they can't sing the very high notes. There he is in his boat, and he's tugging them along, and there they are. Did you see his flag? It says MG McG MCG McGrew. And then I'll go down to the wilds of Nantucket and capture a family of lunks in a bucket. Then people will say, "Now I like that boy heaps. His Nuzu McGruzu is growing by leaps. He captures them wild and he captures them meek. He captures them slim and he captures them sleek. What do you suppose he will capture next week?" There he is. He's got them in a bucket. See there? And he's hauling them up all the way over there. And he's got his car to pull. I'll capture one tiny. I'll capture one cute. I'll capture a deer that no hunter would shoot. A deer that's so nice you could sleep in your bed if it weren't for those horns that he has on his head. There's the deer he's talking about. So cute, so tiny and cute. And look at those horns. And there's the McGrew Zoo. And there's Gerald McGrew. And speaking of horns that are just a bit queer, I'll bring back a very odd family of deer, a father, a mother, two sisters, a brother, whose horns are connected from one to the other, whose horns are so mixed that they can't tell them apart, can't tell where they end and can't tell where they start. Each deer's mighty puzzled. He's never yet found if his horns are hers or the other way round. And if you try to trace them, you can't tell. I'll capture them fat and I'll capture them scrawny. I'll capture a scragglefoot mulligatawny, a high-stepping animal fast as the wind from the blistering sands of the desert of Zend. This beast is the beast that the brave chieftains ride when they want to go fast to find some place to hide. A mulligatawny is fine for my zoo, and so as a chieftain, I'll bring one back too. There he is. There's the chieftain. And there's a mulligatawny, or tawny. Oh, it's funny. In the far western part of southeast North Dakota lives a very fine animal called the iota, but I'll capture one who is even much finer in the northeastern west part of South Carolina. When people see him, they will say, "Now, by thunder, this Nuzu McGruzu is really a wonder." Here you go. There's an iota. What he's calling an iota. Most beasts are quite friendly, but still in some lands, some beasts are too dangerous to catch with bare hands. For those that are ugly and vicious and mean, I'll build a bad animal catching machine. It's rather expensive to build such a kit, but with it, a hunter can never get bit. Here's his bad animal catching machine. See there? And there's the cage to catch the bad animal. It's far, far away, so he doesn't get bit. A zoo should have bugs, so I'll capture a squirrel whose legs are snarled up in a terrible snarl. And then I'll go out and I'll capture some chugs, some keen shooter, mean shooter, bean shooter bugs. So here's a thwirl. And there's the bean shooter, the keen shooter, mean shooter, bean shooter bugs. See them shooting here? I'll go to the African islands of Yurka and bring back a tizzle-topped tufted mazurka, a kind of canary with quite a tall throat. His neck is so long if he swallows an oat for breakfast the first day of April, they say, it has to go down such a very long way that it gets to his stomach the 15th of May. And there it is. He swallows it on the 1st of April, and by the 15th of May, it gets here. That's 6 weeks. Bag a big bug who is very surprising, a feller who has a propeller for rising and zooming around, making cross-country hops from Texas to Boston with only 2 stops. Now that sort of thing for a bug is just tops. And then and when I've caught him, then the next thing you know, I'll go and I'll capture a wild tic-tac-toe with X's that win and with zeros that lose. He'll look mighty good in this zoo of McGrews. So here's the bug with the propeller on top, and here is the tic-tac-toe, the wild tic-tac-toe. I'll bring back a gusset, a gherkin, and a gasket, and also a gooch from the wilds of Nantasket. And 8 Persian princes will carry the basket, but what their names are I don't know, so don't ask it. There's the procession. In a cave in Khartoum lived a beast called the Natch that no other hunter's been able to catch. He's hidden for years in his cave with a pout, and no one's been able to make him come out. But I'll coax him out with a wonderful meal that's cooked by my cooks in my cooker-mobile. They'll fix up a dish that is just to his taste, 3 chicken croquettes made of library paste, then sprinkled with peanut shucks, pickled and spiced, then baked at 600 degrees and then iced. It's mighty hard cooking to cook up such feasts, but that's how the new zoo, McGrew Zoo, gets beasts. There's the cooking mobile. See the stove on the truck? And there goes the cook. And there's McGrew enticing the guy, whatever he called it. I'll go to the faraway mountains of Topsk, where the river Obnopsk, I'll bring back an Opsk, a sort of a kind of a thingamabobsk, who only eats rhubarb and corn on the Kopsk. then people will flock to my zoo in a mopsk. McGrew, they will say, does a wonderful jobsk. He hunts with such vim and he hunts with such vigor. His new zoo, McGrew Zoo, gets bigger and bigger. There's an Opsk. And speaking of birds, there's the Russian Palusky, whose headski is redski and belly is blueski. I'll get one of them for my Zewski McGrewski. I'm sure some people won't take very kindly to some of this. Then the whole town will gasp, why, this boy never sleeps. No keeper before ever kept what he keeps. There's no telling what that young fellow will do. And then just to show them, I'll sell to Katru and bring back an Itkuch, a Preep, and a Prue, a Nurgle, a Nerd, and a Seersucker too. You know, they go down a list of signs, and they go back down this side set of signs. I'll hunt in the jungles of Hippo Nohungus and bring back a flock of wild Bippo Nobungus. The Bippo Nobungus from Hippo Nohungus are better than those down in Dippo Nodungus and smarter than those in Nippo Nonungus, and that's why I'll catch them in Hippo Nohungus. Instead of those others in Nungus and Dungus, the people will say when they see these bips bounding, this zookeeper, new keeper's simply astounding. He travels so far that you'd think he would drop. When do you suppose this young fellow will stop? Stop? Well, I should, but I won't stop until I've captured the Fizzamadil, the world's biggest bird from the island of Gwark, who only eats pine trees and spits out the bark. And boy, when I get him back home to my park, the whole world will say, young McGrew's made his mark. He's built a zoo better than Noah's whole ark. These wonderful, marvelous beasts that he chooses have made him the greatest of all the McGrewses. Look at that machine pulling that one in. Yep. Wow, they'll all cheer. What's this zoo? What this zoo must be worth? It's the gold-darnedest zoo on the face of the earth. McGrew's Zoo. Look at all the busyness going on, all the different displays. Yes, that's what I'll do, said young Gerald McGrew. I'd make a few changes if I ran the zoo. And there he is, back to where we started. All right. Bye. Love you.